Okay, so homework 7. For me, it's homework 7. What homework is it for you? 6, Peer and Trend? Peer and Trend. Okay, so this video is for you people from 11 o'clock who have no commitment to this subject. I think you're just coming to school just to have a good time, you know, and you probably slept in today. Congratulations for that. And Tim Hart is here from the 11 o'clock class. Who else? And Abby and Allie are here. So there are people who have a strong thirst for knowledge, and I'm really proud of them. The rest of you, you know, I'll pray for you. All right. So we've got two companies, ITT and ITW. These are the two companies we've been using. Let me flip through here and grab the income statement and the balance sheet. Here it is. Here we go. And we have already computed every one of these ratios for these companies. At least for one of them. I think ITT, maybe not for ITW. Okay? In other homeworks. And so, let me list out the ratios. And so we have liquidity and leverage. Okay, and so for liquidity, we're going to use the current ratio. And for leverage, we're going to use assets to equity. Why are we going to use assets to equity instead of debt to equity or debt as a percentage of total cap? Why are we using assets to equity? Anybody know? Because that is the third component, the leverage component of return on equity. So we might as well use that. All right, so then we have efficiency. By the way, okay, I get emails and calls from employers all the time. We're looking for interns, or we're looking to fill a permanent position. Who should we talk to in finance and accounting? All right. So when I say, why do we use assets to equity, the person who answers that question is the person that is going to be put on my list as a recommendation. Okay? Because there's a lot riding on that recommendation. Because when I send a student to an employer, and the employer calls me up and says, that student is fantastic, okay? Then that's great for all of you, okay? Because that employer is going to come back here. He's going to call me first, or she's going to call me first. Who do you have for me, okay? If you want to be on that list, you got to be able to answer questions like that, okay? So the bar is not set that high for you. Yeah, that's an insult. That's an insult, okay? So it's not that difficult to jump over that bar and be head and shoulders above everybody else. So I'm just telling you, I get these calls. They say, who are your top 3 finance majors? Right? They're already spoken for, because the top people, everybody refers them. And you can't get them, so they're busy. But the next 10 are available. So jump up. Okay. Accounts receivable turnover. And inventory turnover. And fixed asset turnover. And total asset turnover. Okay? So those are the efficiency ratios. And so we've got 2017, 2016, 2015. And so, somebody tell me what the formula is for the current ratio.
Current assets divided by current liabilities.
Total current assets divided by total current liabilities. Okay, thank you. And then assets to equity is ending total assets plus beginning total assets divided by ending total equity. Oh, beginning, oh, no, ending plus beginning. And then accounts receivable turnover is, somebody tell me what accounts receivable turnover is.
Sales divided by average accounts receivable.
Average accounts receivable. All right, who said that? Rick. All right, inventory turnover. Who knows that formula?
Cost of goods sold divided by average inventory.
Is that Brittany again?
Yeah.
All right, fixed asset turnover.
Sales divided by average fixed assets.
Okay. And total asset turnover. Okay, so one person answered all the questions. She's on my list, by the way. She already has been, because of how many answers she's given so far this semester. She's plugged in. Okay? And also, you know, one of the things that employers look for is initiative. Okay? I've had students, brilliant students, who won't say anything. Okay? And sometimes it's a cultural thing, like in China. It's very cultural. You know, stay in the background, be quiet. Same thing with some of the Walton students. Brilliant, but they absolutely won't say anything. That doesn't help an employer. Okay? You got to jump in. Okay? At least in the States. The opposite of that, I understand, is in Israel, where everybody's in your face all the time. In your face. That's the culture there. Okay, so we got 0.952 and 1.248 and 0.94. I'm rounding. And we have 3.15 and 3.79 and 3.94, and under efficiency we have 6.3 and 6.1 and 6.19. And under inventory, we have 6.63 and 6.18 and 5.62. And fixed asset turnover, we have 1.54 and 1.50 and 1.48. And sales divided by total, so total asset turnover is 1.02 and 0.99 and 1.01. Okay, so that's for ITT, and then for ITW, 2.34, and 3.22, and 2.47 for current ratio. And we have 1.45, and 1.50, and 1.61. And then we have 6.21, and 6.23, and 6.42. And we have 6.39, 6.39, and 6.07, and 1.75. 1.53, and 1.41, and then we have 1.04, and 0.92, and 0.93. All right, so we've got two companies and multiple years. So this is trend analysis, and this is peer analysis. That versus that. So the first question is, which company has better liquidity? Okay, and there are two ways we can look at that. One way is to simply compare that and that. And so you'd have to say ITW has better liquidity. The other way to look at it is which one has a better trend in liquidity, and neither of them really do. It's kind of, for both of them, these are two independent, publicly traded companies that are in similar businesses. I didn't make these numbers up. These are real. This is for real companies. And look how close they are. Okay? In terms of, well, some of the numbers. These guys are a lot more liquid than these guys. It's a different business strategy. So, without knowing anything about the companies, one of the first questions you can ask them is, either company is, why do your ratios look so different? Your liquidity ratios look so different than for the other company. And they'll tell you. They may say, well, we're not sure about the other company's strategy, but we can tell you the reason why we're running below 1. And the question this raises is, why are you below 1? Two questions. And what happened here? And look here. Same year, they went from here to here. Same year, they went from here to here. They went up. They went up too. So something happened in this year that affected both companies. Something that was common to both companies. Okay. All right. So then the second question, which company has improving liquidity? And really, I was hoping to get a better trend, but I didn't really get a great trend for either of them. I would say that's equal. Which company is more efficient? Okay. So when we look here, we really can't. There's really not a whole lot of difference. Okay, between this company and this company. You'd have to say, you know, this is just slightly higher than this, but not much. Okay, so then breaking it down into the component parts, and again, these are two independent companies, and it's amazing how close the ratios are. So the inventory turnover is a little bit higher. Let's see, 6.63. In this year, they turn their inventory over just a little bit more. I mean, none of these are really materially different, except they've got, relatively speaking, they're generating less sales. Something happened that caused this number. This is the outlier here. When you look at all these numbers, for fixed asset turnover. Fixed asset turnover is property, is their plant or their headquarters. Okay? So, who's from Little Rock? Anybody from Little Rock? Every 12 years or so, Bank of the Ozarks builds a gleaming new corporate headquarters. I guess that's just what George Gleason wants to do. He's the chairman of the board and CEO of the company, and it's a publicly traded company. In my opinion, it's not a good use of money. Okay? Walmart's headquarters are not very nice and good. They're worried about the stockholders instead of having a great office. Okay? And so these guys are turning over their fixed assets faster than these guys. And that's the standout. And it's only one number, it's this one right here. It's this number right here. Because these two numbers are pretty similar to this. So that's the one number on the whole board that tends to stand out among all of these numbers. All right, let's look at the second group of ratios. Or the second half of it. There weren't any big stark differences between these two companies in liquidity, a little bit in liquidity, and not much at all in efficiency. Oh, I should have said that now the leverage ratios, ITT is much more leveraged than ITW. That wasn't a question, but I don't see it down there. But assets to equity, 3.15 versus 1.45. So ITT has twice the amount of leverage. Okay? And I'd like to see their debt to equity or debt as a percentage of total capital. That's a riskier strategy. Okay? To have that high leverage. Now, it's riskier, but it could pay off. We'll take a look. So let's look at profitability. So we have GPM percentage and OPM percentage and NPM percentage. And so 0.369, 0.379, 0.39, we've already calculated for that company before, and we have 0.381, 0.378, and 0.373. So that's interesting as well that, look how close their profit margins are. These are two completely separate companies, and their businesses are not identical, but they're close. And look at their gross profit margin percentage being that close. That's interesting. This number is better. They have a slightly rising trend. They have a declining trend. And this number is better than that number. And depending on how high the sales number is, you take this minus this, which is roughly 1.2%, and multiply that times sales, and sales are ITW sales are, oh, not that, on this sheet. Does anybody have the sales for ITW?
Which year?
For 2017.
11,731.
Okay, that 11,000 is going to be in billions. So 11 billion times 1.2, somebody multiply 11 billion times 0.012. 11 billion times 0.012.
132 million.
How much?
132 million.
132 million because of the difference between this and this. So these guys get an extra $132 million. And I'm sure that almost all of it should go to the CEO, right? Why not? The workers who work hard to create all that, they don't deserve it. Give it all to the CEO. All right. That's a lot of money. Okay. So now we have operating profit margin, and we have 0.099, 0.099, 0.103, and we have, woo, 0.175, 0.163, and 0.159. Look at that. These guys have almost twice the operating profit margins. Some of that is because of their gross profit. But I guarantee you, they're running a much smaller sales force. If you looked at sales divided by the number of employees, okay, you get sales per employee. And I guarantee you that sales per employee are a lot higher for this company than for this company. And in what area in particular are we talking about? SG&A. And one thing that could explain a difference in strategy without knowing, think about this, if the sales per employee are a lot higher for them than for them, what's one obvious way to make that happen? What's an obvious way to make that happen?
Offer incentives.
Incentives, one way, absolutely. That's one way.
Reduce your employees.
If you reduce your employees, what happens to your output? If you reduce your employees,
Decreases.
it decreases unless
To hire producing employees.
and that's she was talking. Well, it could be training, better training. What huge advantage has America had over the rest of the world for the last 75 years?
Technology.
It is our automation, our capital investment in technology. Okay? That's what has separated us from everybody else. The average employee has a lot more technology and automation to work with in America than everywhere else. At the same time, our costs are much higher in America. And a lot of that has to do with air pollution that we focus on, that China does not. Water pollution that we focus on, that China does not, or Russia. It's just a fact. I'm not dumping on China. It's just the way it is. If you've been to China, you know what I'm talking about. And when they had the Olympics there were some events they had to call off because the smog was bad. And in some American cities, the smog is bad. LA in particular. Okay? So, but there's, but we've been a capitalist country for a lot longer, and when China gets more developed, they will start focusing more on health care for people, and retirement for people, and minimum wage for people, and pollution. They'll get there. But when we were at their stage of development, we weren't paying a lot of attention to it either. Okay, that's just natural. All right. Automation, technology. Okay, but China has a huge advantage they have is 1.4 billion people, a huge workforce, and an excellent system for their public education in elementary and high school. I think it's much more rigorous from what I read. It's much more rigorous than ours is. And I have never heard a Chinese student say to me, I'm not good at math. But 90% of American students say that. I'm just not very good at math. All right. Net profit margin percentage. 0.065. 0.069. 0.076. So that dropped down. And then 0.114. 0.104. 0.098. So this is trended up, and this is trended up, because this is trended up, because this is trended up. And we'd have to do more analysis to see if this trended up because this trended up, or if this also, if they do a great job here, but then separately on depreciation and on SG&A, did they do a good job in there as well? Did this move up percentage-wise more than this moved up? And if it did, it's because they did a good job here, but they also did a good job in here. And the same thing in here. All right, so not a good trend, a very good trend. Without knowing anything about anything else about the other two companies, I choose ITW. That's the investment I want to make. Much better run company. Now, what we ignore is the stock price and the stock valuation. If the stock price is already reflecting this, which it probably is, then even though this is a better company, a better managed company, if the stock price, you might have a better opportunity to make money in the stock here. We'll get into that later in the semester. All right, so returns. So return on assets, and return on equity, and return on invested capital. And we really shouldn't be on this one because we haven't gotten to it yet, actually. But okay, so we've got 0.066, 0.069, and 0.077. And we have 0.119, 0.095, and 0.091. Okay, so their return on assets better than their return on assets. Now, the one thing, so there are two possibilities here. We know, so sales divided by average total assets times net profit margin percentage equals return on assets. I'm outside of the line. Okay, so we have sales. So the question is, why is return on assets for ITW higher than for ITT? And so sales divided by average total assets times the net profit margin percentage. So that's efficiency times profitability equals return on assets. So we know profit is at least partially attributable to why ITW has better return on assets. And we also know, we looked at the efficiency ratios, and it's really not efficiency, it's the profit margin. And we know that the profit margin is a function of pricing and sourcing cost and product mix and administrative cost. Okay? And it could be tax rate, but everybody's subject to the same tax rate, so it's somewhere in here that is enabling these folks at ITW to do a better job. Now, one thing, so if you're at ITW, and depending on the size difference between the two companies, one thing you might consider doing is buying ITT. Why? Well, because their margins are low, because management doesn't know how to improve their margins, and you do. And if you think you can apply your margin magic to their sales, okay, you combine the two companies, you eliminate a bunch of administrative costs, you probably eliminate a bunch of manufacturing costs, and you raise their margins, and you have created significant value. You've also fired a bunch of people. Now, as an investor or as a top-level manager, you'd be real proud of yourself for doing that merger. But if you were a senior in high school and your parents lost their jobs because of the merger, you wouldn't be happy at all about it. And that's the way it works. Okay, so return on equity, 0.209, 0.26, and 0.30. Get rid of this. And 0.258, 0.217, and 0.226. Oh, 226. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, that's impressive. So their return on equity, at least in this last year, was better. Previous years, these guys were better. So you look at this and you say, and you have to look at all the numbers and say, what happened? Why did we go there? So again, look at this trend. Good trend. Great trend right here. Bad trend. Ooh, something's stinky at this company. Okay? So, and it's really interesting that they're able to have a return on equity so much higher than ITT, when ITT is twice as leveraged as ITW. Because the higher the leverage, all things being equal, what's the Latin phrase for that? Ceteris paribus, you're higher. Okay? All things being equal, the higher the leverage a company has, the higher the return on equity will be. But in this case, the difference in margins at ITW makes it possible for them to offset the leverage that this company has and beat them with return on equity. This is a much better managed company. Okay? So if they buy them, they can improve their margins and they pick up their debt, which increases their leverage. They get better margins, more leverage, and their return on equity shoots up. Ooh. I want to be CFO of this company and make that recommendation. And get paid bonuses based on the dramatic financial improvements we make for the entire company, particularly this division, but for the entire company. Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, Brittany.
What formula are you using for return on equity?
Net income divided by average total owner's equity. Okay? So, a lot of numbers, appear and trend, and they tell you a lot. And sometimes it comes down just to one line item. And in this case, it's this one. It's their operating margin. That is unbelievable, almost double for ITW versus ITT, their operating margin. Very well managed company. And they have low, the second thing is they have low leverage. Okay? All right. We'll be done. Wasn't that thrilling? You feel invigorated? You know? I just made a bunch of money by recommending that ITW buy ITD. I'm feeling pretty excited. So excited that I'm going to get my pupusas and tamales in the student center because I bought a couple of tickets because it's the best food, it's the best tamales and pupusas you'll ever eat. That's right, I said that on camera. I'm not even paid. I'm not a paid spokesperson.
Peace, shalom.